That's one of the facial recognition cameras on top of the car. You join me here today, Chonburi Immigration, which is in Soi 5, Jomtien. But there's been a bit of a problem, so let me talk you through it. Make sure you stay on the right side of things. Yeah, so it's all changed at immigration. There's a new building here. That was the new building, but it's been superseded by this one. So this is where you go first and get your number to go any of the desks. The building over here, which is on the right as you come into immigration, is TM30 form, which is desk 10 and desk 9. So where you go for a residency certificate, if you need to open a bank account, buy a car, that type of thing. So if you're coming over here and you're on a tourist visa or one of them stamps you get at the airport, if you then go and stay in a hotel, it's the hotel's obligation to register you at immigration. And they do a thing online called a TM30. And that's like where you're going to be staying. And if you go and stay in a condo, then sometimes the agent will do it for you, or the juristic in the office. It really just depends on who you're dealing with. The problem comes if they've forgotten to do it, or you've forgotten to do it. When you come here to do anything, the first thing they look for is, where's your TM30? Now, if it's been done online, obviously it's not in your passport, but they can look it up on the computer. So, yeah, that's the first kind of stumbling point, but it's not the main thing that I'm here to talk to you about today. So it's what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And the problem is, if you want to stay here long term, you need to have a visa. And the most common ones to get are the OA, which you apply for in your home country. So you go through security checks, police reports. You've got to have a certain amount of money in a local to you bank account. And then they issue you with a 1-year visa. And once you come over on that, you can then renew it for a further year. The issue with an OA that a lot of people don't like is it's mandatory to have insurance at a set level by the Thai government. So a lot of people, they choose to come over here and then arrange a visa when they're here. And the most common one of them is the O visa. O, and there's no insurance requirement. But you've got to have a bank account. And this is where the problem arises. Most people then, they use an agency to set up a bank account. And I'll put this little infographic on the screen, but essentially, they open a bank account for you, put the money in, and go through the process of applying for your visa. They get your visa, and they take the money out. And there you can see that that's when the problem arises, because there's no money in your bank account. And it's a requirement, if you're on a visa, that you must have 800,000 baht in your bank account for the 3 months after your visa's put in. Then you can drop it at 400,000 for the next 7 months. Okay, so you've had 3 months at 800, 7 months at 400, and then it must increase again for the final 2 months before your visa is due renewal to the 800,000 again. But your bank account, when you've got a visa, it's sitting empty because you haven't put your money in it yet. Yeah, so you can imagine, to open a bank account, you need a residency certificate. And you can't get one unless you're a resident, which is your whole reason for wanting to open a bank account. So it's why we're back to this chicken and egg and which one comes first. Ideally, in an ideal world, you want to speak to a bank and get a bank account open and put your money in first. It will make your agency costs cheaper if you decide to use an agent. And it means that you're in control of what funds are sitting in your bank account, so you don't break any of the rules that they have in place. So what you got to do? How are you going to get a bank account if you don't have a residency certificate? One, you can use an agent and they'll open a bank account for you. And it's why, for me, I would be considering doing it separate from the process, unless you can have a chat with your agent and say, how do I manage to keep a constant balance in my account in excess of the 800,000? What I did myself some 13 years ago was I just went to the bank, and things weren't so strict as back then, but I just went to the bank and said, look, I'm buying a condo, I don't live here, but I need to send the money. And it's a large sum of money. And you see their eyes get bigger. And 20 minutes later I had a bank account with no insurance requirements, because sometimes the bank can be a bit, if you buy insurance, we'll give you one. Yeah, so my two friends recently, they both used different agencies and they both fell foul of this keeping the money in your account rule. It's not that they didn't have money, they just didn't have the money in their bank account when their visa was issued. So the agent took their money out because they've kept the bank book because it's their money that's in your account. They take it out, your bank account balance is zero. You've broken the law. You've broken the immigration rules, and you're going to get a fine, or you're going to have to make a payment to make things go smoothly. A figure of 10,000 baht was banded about. And it might not be the end of the world, but if you can get around it and you don't need to pay it, why should you pay it? Yeah, so I filmed the majority of that yesterday at immigration when I was helping a friend get his annual renewal on his visa. And whilst I was there, I saw one of the well-known agents in town, one of her staff. So I went and had a chat with her about the issue. And she said, no, we always leave 2,000 baht in the account. I says, no, we're talking about the 800,000 that has to be there if you hold a visa. And she looked at me with horror and said, go speak to my boss. So yeah, it's a problem. I am very aware that the agents know about it. I'm very aware that you're probably going to have to go back to an agent the second year or pay immigration. And I don't think you should have to. You know what I mean? If they did their job properly at the beginning and explained to you the future problem. Of course, the thing is, you've got your bank book, you've got your visa, you're happy as Larry. You're like a pig in shit, you know? You don't know where you are until next year comes around. So just make sure, take care, ask the questions, and hopefully this helps at least save you 10,000 baht. Okay, thanks for joining me again on the channel. And remember, I've got a couple of channels, so go and have a look at them. Okay, and see you next time.